What do I see? Is that type C? Is that freaking type C that I see? Yo. Oh my god. Oh no. I was betrayed. For it is not type C, it is lightning. We have come full circle, my friend. What do I mean by this? Okay, so a little bit of backstory here. First of all, welcome. Welcome to the video. Welcome to the channel. And today we're going to be looking at the Powerbeats Pro. So let me start off with a bit of a backstory here. Imagine a pudgy Mexican kid that used to walk miles on end heading over to Best Buy, right? Trying to look at the latest and greatest in audio technology. Of course, back then I had no idea what DACs, amps, file quality, FLAC versus MP3. I had no idea what any of this was. I was some kid just trying to find good audio, something that satisfied me, but nothing did, especially because I had to stick to wireless solutions because I had no place to just go and stay and use these sitting down. I would mostly use these standing up, moving somewhere, going from class to class. Again, high school. Okay, so I was disappointed by everything. And I always thought, oh man, the Powerbeats look so damn cool. Or well, not Powerbeats, specifically Beats. I was like, wow, they look so cool. And then I would buy them and then I'd be so disappointed in their absolute garbage quality of a sound. And then I would try every other wireless Bluetooth headphone out there and... well, it was Bluetooth back then in 2015, 2014, some time ago, not that long ago, but back then things were definitely not as good as they are now, and you could definitely hear that. So fast forward into the future, what do I think about Beats now? Old habits never change. But anyway, let's start off with the contents here. As far as the contents are concerned, well, obviously they come with the earphones themselves. They come with a total of 4 silicone tips, small, medium, large, and double flanged. Black Lightning to USB-A charger, not to be mistaken with a superhero. They come with a Beats sticker. Yo, you gotta jump on that Beats sticker. And the instruction booklet that explains, well, how to set these up. It's pretty simple and straightforward. It's a Bluetooth product. Go to your Bluetooth menu, you set it up. Bada bing, bada boom. So now let's jump into the build quality of these. Now, the part of the build that contains the internals consists of a mostly matte plastic finish. That would be this right here. You can actually see the dividing line right there. So it's this, all the inner stuff with the button right there as well. All of this, even this inner pod that actually sits next to the cavum of the ears. All of that is a matte plastic. Matte, well, whatever color, matte plastic, right? It's not exactly super high quality, but it's nothing to complain about. A benefit to using this type of plastic, however, is that it significantly reduces the overall weight of each unit, allowing for superior comfort. The piece that becomes the ear hook is primarily made out of rubber, that would be this right here, and the inner piece that molds to the user's custom shape becomes thinner as you approach the farther end of the unit. So here you can very much feel a plastic thing within this tube, and then it starts to feel thinner and thinner and thinner, and it becomes more rubber as opposed to plastic. Buttons are more on the less tactile side of things, but are easy to press. Now, I'm not sure how this may translate to long-term durability, but my guess is not quite so well. The case is made of the same type of matte plastic, although the case's plastic feels somewhat more slippery than the buds themselves. So if you want to see the comparison right there, you see what this looks like, you see what that looks like. It's the, let me see if I can do this. So yeah, it's made out of the same type of matte plastic, although the case's plastic feels somewhat more slippery than the buds themselves. Now let's jump into the comfort. The comfort of these, funny enough, these just happen to fit my ears quite well right out of the box without any ear tip size matching or adjustments to the ear hook's stock shape or anything like that. I felt that to be 90% unnecessary. And, so much so that I didn't really feel like adjusting it was honestly necessary for me. I could use these no problems, really. Now the pod itself, this inner piece that rests next to the cavum of the ear, and the ear tip that travels into the ear canal feel like they just kind of snap or attach into place like a magnetic charger, so to speak. Although they definitely do fit me well, they do hurt after a good while. I don't think you'd notice the pain if you were like working out with these, so not a big concern. But you most definitely will feel it if you're just sitting somewhere getting some work done or something of the sort, where you're less focused on the activity and a little more on just kind of relaxing and, working but calmly. The tech inside of these is, well, it's pretty good. Pairing with an Apple device is as simple as pairing with AirPods or AirPods Pro. For Android, it is just like pairing any other Bluetooth device. Battery life on these is pretty decent, up to 9 hours on a single charge, which is one of the better battery lives we've seen with a truly wireless bud, and around 24 hours by recharging them with the case's battery. These are sweat and water resistant for workouts, which, well, I hope they are, since that's kind of their purpose. They get up to 90 minutes of additional playback by charging them and their case for 5 minutes. Automatically pause your music when you take them off and put them back on, even on Android. So that's definitely a plus. They both feature a pause button when you take them off. God damn it. So the buttons, and a volume rocker, which are both seen right there. They both do the same thing so that you can choose to pick your favorite side, left or right, and then just, refer to that. Or you can use one of these at a time and never really feel like the functions are missing somehow. Press and hold the pause button to bring up Siri or Google Assistant, or if you're running a Galaxy, Bixby. As far as the range on these is concerned, on the iPad, at step 36, I briefly adjusted the right side and it began to cut off for like half a second and then return to normal. At step 47, it began to cut off on its own. As I turned around, it cut off entirely until I approached around step 30 or so. Now on Android, at step 31, I briefly adjusted the right side again just to, imitate the scenario. And it began to cut off for half a second again and return to normal. At step 38, it began to cut off all on its own. When I turned around to return, the sound cut off and did not come back until step 15 or so. Generally speaking, it does matter what device you are using because you are going to get slightly better range on Apple devices as opposed to Android or whatever other device you're using. But do not fret because the range on Android is actually still pretty good. It's one of the better ranges I've seen with a Bluetooth product. Latency is definitely not the worst, although there is very little that I noticed here. However, I wouldn't say there was practically none, but I would say it was close to being practically none. So, you can ignore the latency here, and I don't think it'd be the end of the world. However, I just couldn't help but to try to use my mind to try to kind of sync the audio with the video. So it can be mostly ignored as long as you're not focusing too hard, honestly. All right, now let's jump into the sound quality here. As far as the bass is concerned, there definitely is some boost to it. There is a slight amount of meat, but it lies farther below into the bass. Now, the mid bass still is slightly forward, but it's nothing problematic, honestly. My general thoughts to this bass response is, when I was listening to these, my general thoughts were, I like it. Okay. Cool. So I guess generally speaking, I really don't have much to complain about here, but it's not exactly stellar either. It's passable. Example, Stellates of Stockholm. At the minute 26 mark, the bass note hits harder than neutral. It definitely does. Definitely forward. There is some good control to it, however. It's not exactly what I would call bloated, but just a little meatier than neutral for sure. Now at 307, the bass is heard quite forward towards the lowest point of that bass valley. There is some decent extension, and then it climbs back up quite quickly, but it never overdoes it near the end of that valley. So it's definitely a plus. Manages to boost bass a bit without losing control of it too much. Now as far as which image is concerned, which image by Ghost. Roast. Kick drums are somewhat elevated and punchier than neutral. The bass guitar is as forward as it should be, and perhaps a tad more. Honestly, I was really impressed with the mid bass here. Definitely good control to it, and I did like it. Definitely did. Last example for bass, Dream On, the Postmodern Jukebox cover. The string bass can be a bit overbearing at the more quieter sections of the track. More quiet sections of the track. It can be a bit overbearing. The string bass is meatier than usual, but not too much. The mids. Oh, the mids. Yoicks. Big yoicks. Example time. Dream On by Postmodern Jukebox. The female vocals sound too forward, thin, and quite honky. Like my ex-wife. What? The cello also sounds quite thin and uninspiring. Honestly, I mean, look, often when I listen to the cello solo at 231, I feel like I always get drawn into it because I really like the cello and I really love listening to it. What happened here was actually quite the opposite. I was actually often distracted by something and then reeled back into reality where I usually, like I said, where I usually tend to really focus and stop what I'm doing to listen to the cello solo. The opposite actually happened here. I kept on getting distracted and remembered, oh, wait, I'm filming a review. I'm writing a review. I should be focusing on the sound. Oops. So take that as you will. Now another example, Titanium, the Postmodern Jukebox cover. Vaughn Smith just sounds kind of like digital somehow. It sounds like a robot singing. Not like some heavily processed like beep boop beep kind of sound, but like it's got like some sort of robotic filter to it. I can't explain it. It still sounds like a human. It just sounds it sounds weird. Honestly, it's all I can say. The general thin sounding aspect of the mids coupled with the Bluetooth sound is just really not great, especially with those male vocals, man. Now the treble. This is for sure the worst part of the frequency response right here. I put on Bangarang, which is my usual treble track, to see how much treble there is, generally speaking. I barely played 2 seconds of it, and my jaw dropped to the floor. These things are amazing at being terrible. They have their treble response is it's hollow, it is tinny, and it is sibilant, like my ex-wife. They strongly possess that Bluetooth sound to them, which is what I generally describe as thin and paper-like. Let's jump into some examples here. Comet Song by Death Clock. Now, I don't usually test out earphones with this track, or headphones, but I do happen to encounter this often in my playlist during casual listening, like personal listening. I've played this on Clone Hero many times, albeit it's an iffy file quality, but I've played it. I know the song. I know it in and out, even though it's not one of my test tracks. I've listened to these on my HD600s quite often, so I know what the reference sound is supposed to be as well. Look, to say the least, I love this track, and I'm not just trying to make Brendan Small sound Brendan huge, but it really pulls me in the farther into the track you listen to. The farther I reach into the track, the more I get pulled in, and the more I just get into that sound. It's an amazing track. Congratulations to everybody who wrote it, because it's so nice. That said, I can't bring myself to listen to this track seriously on these. I just can't, man. The entire high end is incredibly forward and distorted. Yes, even for a metal track, even for metal, it's incredibly distorted. Nathan's vocals are actually sibilant somehow, and the cymbals are straight up just wonky and unintelligible, despite being forward and extremely close to you. I just can't, man. I just can't. This treble response, I just can't. I can't. Now we approach the soundstage and the imaging. Soundstage is on the wider side of things. Definitely one of the wider, truly wireless headphones I have listened to, which can definitely be seen as a benefit, for sure. Imaging is actually above par with these for a wireless Bluetooth headphone. I'll give you an example. Hotel California by the Eagles, the 20-second mark. The airplane is definitely trackable. Not 100% precise as you hear it come from the right side to above your head, but it's still within a reasonable area where you can, generally speaking, just kind of hear the general area that it's coming from. Very, very nice. Very impressive. Other details of the track are in a good location and appear reasonably accurate. reasonably. I will point out though, the soundstage does have that strangeness to it that sounds a bit unnatural. It doesn't sound like a typical headphone in terms of the area available for instruments to lie in, if that makes any sense. Like it sounds as if the soundstage takes the shape of a pod, right? Like it doesn't sound like you're listening to an area full of music. It sounds like you're listening to music that is trapped within this particular shape right there. So, if that makes any sense. Now, before we jump into the conclusion, let's approach the notes and observations portion of the review. Although they definitely sound thin, the sound profile you get out of these can be adequate if listening at lower volumes when doing some sort of work and you need some sort of background music. However, my thoughts changed when taking these out on workouts and runs. Because these mostly lack passive noise isolation, you can hear your environment quite well. For my use case, I consider that a positive. However, their sound does indeed become quite too anemic and hot to listen to. For those of you who don't know, anemic equals thin. Hot refers to the treble. The treble's way too forward. I'm saying because, we got quite a bit of normies coming in here that don't know all of their audiophile, lingo. So I just want to make it abundantly clear. Anyways, however, their sound does indeed become quite too anemic and hot to listen to. I was forced to leave it at one volume notch lower than what I prefer, simply because that treble response was just far too forward and sibilant to listen to. I just couldn't. And this happened once. When I took them out of the case and tried using them, they connected and began playing music, but then they just cut off and no longer played anything. My phone stated that they were still connected and they were still playing music. I then put them away, then took them out again. They played music, but at a significantly lower volume than before, while on the same volume notch, the same volume setting. Then I repeated the process, and then they began playing music at their usual volume again. So, I don't know. Just a little bug to point out. Now for the conclusion. So let's be quite real here. Let's be a little objective. The tech in these is quite commendable and is easily one of the better wireless tech products you can get for your money at the moment, mid-2020. However, the massive caveat to these is probably their most important feature, which is the sound. It is just simply unexcusable, even for wireless audio products in 2020. Like it's it's almost as if Beats audio engineers heard the complaints regarding the excessive muddy bass and the non-existent dark highs and said, okay, I see you want more treble and less bass. Fine, let's give you all of the treble and none of the bass. Perfect. Problem solved. I'll go further into the details in an upcoming comparison video, but it's literally like old Beats used to be this. New Beats, this. Come on, man. Two wrongs don't make a right. Now, personally, I could kind of adjust to the frequency response when working out, although I felt these definitely sound way too thin in an environment where background noise and other environmental factors come into play. That's why, generally speaking, when it comes to a workout headphone, I prefer something on the slightly darker side and slightly bass-heavy side, particularly just all around, little bit forward mid-bass, little bit forward sub-bass, obviously good amount of mids as well, like juicy lush mids, and then slightly recessed treble, because when you introduce those background factors, those environmental sounds, they sort of equalize by letting you only pretty much hear treble and reduce the bass. So at which point you're gonna want to turn it up a notch, and the result of that EQ or that frequency response plus the environmental factors results in you being able to hear your treble, pumping these up to let's say a level extra than you're used to, and none of it being overbearing. So these become questionable above the $150 range, which is really unfortunate since these things are worth $250. So you're essentially throwing away your money when you spend past that due to their sound capabilities. Now, I'm sure that with Apple products, luxury products, premium high-end products, you know for a fact that you're getting a rate of diminishing returns for your money. I know. Just keep that in mind. If you're just considering their value, once you go past $150, it starts to become questionable. So, question and answer, the frequently asked questions. Do you need a workout headphone? these aren't a terrible choice, but I feel there might be better options out there for you. Stick around for an ultimate workout bud comparison video coming very soon. Do you care about getting the best sound quality above all else? Definitely look somewhere else. Do you have issues with IEMs and earbuds fitting your ears and staying in? Then these are definitely one of your better choices out there. So these will definitely stay in for, at least the majority of people. Hell, if they stay in my ears, they're going to stay in your ears. Should I worry about getting these for an Android product? Tongue not working. .exe. Functionality-wise, the Powerbeats Pro should have pretty much the same functionality across both platforms. So, no. That's pretty much going to do it for me. I really hope this one helped you out. And like I said, stick around for different reviews. And stick around for some more high-end audiophile stuff, which, by the way, if you are a mainstream consumer and you happen to reach my channel, I strongly suggest you stay because you could learn a thing or two about like real music and real audio, not this, and you'll actually benefit from it. Like, trust me, it's actually going to change you even if you're resorting to the budget side of things. So stick around, and I hope this video helped you out. It informed you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal. Go ahead and message me down below if you have any questions. And that's going to do it for me. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.